Zepto Moment in cross-border payments. And to take us through for this product showcase, we have our esteemed speaker with us. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Mayank Goyal, founder and CEO, moneyHOP. The session. Thank you so much, sir.
Now, wasn't that lightning fast? How many of you guys here actually think it takes only 5 seconds to remit the money abroad from India? Kindly raise your hands. Okay, I have one. Right, so let me ask the question one more time. How many of you guys think it only takes 5 seconds to remit the money abroad from India? Okay, that's two. Well, clearly you're the outliers because all of us think it takes significantly longer than that, and that's indeed correct. We haven't still yet reached the instant moment of cross-border transactions from India. However, moneyHOP has made significant strides in that direction. And before I take you on that journey, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about where it all started. So my name is Mayank Goyal, and I'm the founder and CEO of moneyHOP. At moneyHOP, we're building infrastructure for cross-border payments from India to the world. And I come from a small city up north called Dehradun, and I grew up in a typical middle-class business family. Spent a lot of my childhood working with my father at his shop, selling dry fruits and spices, and learned the basics of business from him. I did my engineering in telecommunication, and then subsequently went to London to do my master's in financial engineering from Imperial College London. Subsequently, I spent 10 years working at Merrill Lynch and Jefferies before I ideated moneyHOP. Now, it so happens that before I went to London, I had taken a loan from a large public sector bank in India, who was not just charging me 12% on the collateralized loan that I had taken, they were also charging me 5% to remit the money abroad. The experience was extremely paper-driven. The experience was non-transparent with lots of red taping, and it was an extremely poor user experience. No involvement of technology whatsoever. Everything was take photocopies, get the signatures done, and whatnot. Now, when I spent the next 10 years in London, I saw the evolution of several cross-border payments which were providing an incredible user experience to the end user at very effective rates. And when I look back at these problems in India, they were still very much the same. The cross-border payment was still stuck in a rut and hadn't necessarily moved forward. So we thought to ourselves, how can we provide a good user experience? How can we make sure that the instant remittance can actually be possible out of India? And the answer was moneyHOP. At moneyHOP, our solution is trying to address all of these problems. We provide live exchange rates, ability for you to be able to track your transactions, ability for the KYC to be done digitally, and an incredible user experience. And for us to be able to achieve this seamless and end-to-end digital transformation, we have done deep integrations from APIs from the government agencies, KYC, AML providers, PG gateways, and all the way through to when the last mile delivery happens to the university. We've tried to stitch the entire solution as we kind of go along. This essentially helps us to be able to achieve that instant moment, and the users are able to remit the money while on the go as quickly and are able to create these transactions as easily as you're able to create a domestic transaction. Now let's take a quick moment and see how it actually happens. So you log into the app using a PIN. This is a two-factor authentication. We show you exchange rates provided by our financial partners. You enter the amount. You're able to select the purpose code for which the money is moving. You see the final screen of the payment, which involves all the transactions. Select the recipient, the various documents which are needed for you to be able to send the money abroad. Just review the details one more time. All the A2 forms, which are the regulatory requirements, are self-filled. You're able to see the account holder's name, upload any documents which are needed, and the transaction is essentially done. You're able to track the transaction like you're able to track any Amazon parcel which is being delivered, and it's as simple as that. Now, wasn't that significantly delightful to what we actually experience in today's day and age walking into a branch? Moving on from that, when we actually look at the cross-border payment space, it's not just providing a great user experience to be able to create the transaction, which we have done through a state-of-the-art modular mobile application. We also need to increase the speed at which the transaction happens, and which we have done by creating industry-best transaction monitoring system, which we call Everest. Everest is essentially a state-of-the-art multi-layered authentication system which has automated the AML and the KYC processes. We use AI to be able to detect mule accounts, do one-to-many, many-to-one transaction checks. We do negative screening of media for any profile that is generated at our end. We do social screening to be able to score an individual, whether it's going to be a fraudulent transaction or not, and hence are able to raise ex ante if there's any red flag that might come our way in terms of the transaction actually happening. And not just that, our transaction monitoring system is also used by our processing partners for them to be able to do their KYC AML checks, for them to be able to store the transactions, book rate, and whatnot. This essentially ensures that the transaction is moved out of the system as quickly as we can without it having to go through significant amount of manual checks which are prone to errors. Let's take a quick look as to how that actually happens. You're able to see all the modules on the left, which are L1, L2 checks, bank ops, rate booking systems. Every transaction in detail is able to show to the processing partner. Where is it originating? Where is it going? The relevant documents which are uploaded, which are checked through PAN and Aadhaar and whatnot. All the logs they're able to verify. Every transaction has a unique code which we store for any KYC and regulatory checks. You're able to book a rate with a processing partner real time by clicking a button. And these essentially is the dashboard which our processing partner use to make sure that a transaction is actually happening in real time. Now, these were essentially two modules that we have created. Now, if we really think about it, right, we've solved for how the transaction is created. We've solved largely for how the transaction is originated and moves forward. But for us to truly get to a Zepto moment of cross-border finance, for us to truly get to that instant moment, we still have a bunch of ground to cover. If you think about the reasons why a transaction is delayed, it's probably because of the number of intermediaries that are present between a sender and a beneficiary. It's because of the manual nature of checks that a processing partner does. It's because of the complexity on both sides of the aisle. It's also because of the lack of rails on which the money movement happens. And it's also sometimes because of the lack of liquidity present for regulated or capital controlled currencies. And we fundamentally think for us to be able to truly solve for that, all the fintechs will need to build on two pillars. One is technology, but more importantly, regulations. We feel it's more important to be more regulated than less regulated, so that you're able to build within the right paradigm and you know exactly what are the do's and don'ts and you're on the right side of the regulation when you actually innovating. And to that end, we are essentially looking at being regulated on both sides of the aisle, both in India and abroad to the delivering countries that we're working with. We have obtained a license in the IFSCA, which is the IFSC gift city, to be able to process the remittances through that. We are looking to do both outbound and inbound remittances to be able to solve for the netting effect and pass that on to our end users. We are also looking to kind of make sure that we are present. We have a parallel correspondent banking network in multiple jurisdictions in order to make sure that we don't necessarily use the rails of other players. We're able to establish our own rails. We want to be in control of the money in motion for as long as we can, so that we are able to provide that innovation and the speed by eradicating as many intermediaries as possible. And we are taking significant strides in that direction. Now, for us to get to a position, I mean, the future of payments in 2030 is going to look very different to what we have today. We are going to see significant changes in the way we operate. We're going to see AI, not just do detection, but prevention of frauds. We're going to see a lot of biometrics, be it retina scans or fingerprints used for payments. We're going to see a lot more blockchain CBDCs and fungibility of that, right? And all of this is going to take us closer to where we would like to be, hopefully by 2030. But before we get to that position, we have a significant amount of ground to cover. And moneyHOP has resolved for us to be able to get to that position. We, standing here at GFF 2024, resolve as an organization that by 25, we'll be able to bring down the cost of remittances India outbound to under 1% and the speed of transfer to under 10 minutes. And we will be present back here in GFF 2025 to be able to demonstrate that. So that's what my closing remarks are. Thank you very much. But before I take your leave, we have a very special guest amongst us, which is Ajita. I'll just like to quickly introduce her. Ajita is the Deputy Director, Trade and UK Exports, South Asia for UK Department for Business and Trade. She is based in Bombay and has the responsibility of UK's export and trade work across India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Maldives. Her last role was at the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, where she was the head of national security. She's had several roles with the government in the past in the Cabinet Office, Foreign Office, National Secretary, Policy Advisor, and whatnot. Ajita holds an undergrad degree from School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, and is mum of a 6-year-old Ayla. Thank you so much for being amongst here. And please welcome on stage. Please.
It's from a UK perspective. It's great to be a country partner again for the Global Fintech Festival. I think our 5th year in a row. That shows how important, how much priority we place on this event. And that's because it's one of the ways in which our two countries work together on both financial services, technology, and the way that comes together with fintech. This collaboration is something that keeps on growing. So my department, the Department for Business and Trade, we work really hard to foster engagements between startups, regulators, and key stakeholders across the ecosystems in both countries, border payments between the UK and India, including Indian students, which I think are numbering about 100,000 students now, which is an enormous number of young people that will benefit. To pay their fees, living expenses, and so on. It's also going to be know your customer and anti-money laundering compliant as well, so that takes all the worry out of it for those who are using the system. And of course, speed. So one of the things that I love about living in India is some of the fantastic fintech developments over the years that mean that everything is really quick, really convenient, and this feels like it's a part of that trend. And I'm really glad that young people and others, when they go to other countries, will benefit from this fantastic thing that India is introducing to the world. I know that Mayank and also Rahul, they came to the UK from India to study, to do their master's degrees, then worked there for a decade, and then started this fantastic company. And now we're launching this in India, and it's a really, really great pleasure and a source of real pride to see the way in which the living bridge between the two countries, the movement of people, the connections between people in both countries manifests in something, in a product like this. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. It's a very buzzing event, isn't it? I mean, I'm glad I haven't managed to get lost yet, but that's because of my fantastic team who have been taking me from place to place. So I'm really pleased that this is happening. Huge, huge congratulations. We look forward to continuing to work with you on your journey with moneyHOP. And I hope that all of you who are here today, you have a fantastic time at the remainder of the Global Fintech Festival and lots of productive conversations. Thank you.